Hello, people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Outbounds underscore UK, and we are back to where Outbounds originally started from. We are back with basketball topics. As I said, I am joined with. I know I have to keep saying this, it's not a guest anymore, but I'm joined with Kojo. How are we doing?
I'm blessed, bro, man. Happy to be back on. It's been a quite a while, but yeah, man. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I mean, Lake Nation's playing well, but I mean, it's not going well
Yeah,
for
we
my
are.
boy at the Clippers as well. So, I
The
mean,
Westbrook.
yeah. I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
know. Second?
he's been playing well. He's been playing well. Like statistically, he's been putting up good numbers. But obviously,
Yeah.
they haven't been getting the wins in it, so it's not all on
I
him.
mean,
But yeah,
the starters are clowning him again, but I saw Shannon Sharp with some objectivity, so I guess that's good. But that is not why we're here
hmm
for, as you can probably tell by the background. We are here to discuss basketball history, and we are gonna go through who we think are the top five greatest basketball players of all time. So we're gonna do it 5-1. Um, Obviously, five being the lowest and one being the who you think the GOAT is and blah blah.
yeah.
Self-explanatory and stuff. So are you ready? Did
I'm ready, man. I'm
you
ready.
wanna go first with who you think number five, or should I go first?
So should we do it like 5-5-4-4, or just like straight from 5 to 1 each person?
No,
Then
no, so we do five, then we discuss it, then we do four, then we discuss it, then we do three, then we discuss.
okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. I think as you're the host, you're the creator and founder of this podcast channel. So I think you should start first. It's on your right. It's on your right.
All right. Number five. Now I think this was a tough one because I think there is three players I could have. If people picked them, I wouldn't have a major issue with. Um, I'll give you the guys. I think Larry Bird had a case for number five. I do think Tim Duncan had a case for number five, but I'm going to have to go with the Diesel himself, Shaq, as number five. Reason being, as I said, he's a three-time final MVP.
Yes.
Um, and I think what people have failed to realize, I think some people think his career is just what happened with the Lakers, but then he also had a great career with Magic as well. And it's funny because he was also, I think, when Michael Jordan went on this stretch where he was just winning championship after championship after championships, people like to hide that 1 year under the carpet when he did come back. And Orlando Magic Shaq was the one that did knock him out of the playoffs in 95, I think. Yeah, it was 95. So
Yeah, 95. Yeah.
he had that, and then he goes on and wins MVP in 2000. And I think there's only 3P has only happened like three times in the NBA. He did it with the Lakers where he won three MVPs. He went, I think in the playoffs, he was like over 30 points twice, and in the final year, he was like 28 points. And Kobe was still coming into his own. So, and as I said, if you and just put the accomplishments aside, because he's a 15-time All-Star, just in terms of basketball play, he's the most dominant player of all time. Like, there's nothing that you could do with him in the post. I mean, that's why they always had to do like Shaq, because fouling him and letting him make free throws was literally the only way you could stop him. And some of the
Mm.
posters that he's had when he just turns around and dunk on your head, and not that he was an elite defender, but I think he's a bit underrated as a defender as well. He did make three all defensive teams. He's a decent or good rim protector. So yeah, Shaq is my number five.
Yeah, I think that's a very good number five. I agree with your reasons why you picked Shaq as number five. I think he's one of the greatest players in NBA history. He's definitely my top 10. Um, but he's not quite my number five. I actually put him as my number seven. I put him, actually, no, number six, actually. And I do think for me, he's probably the greatest, you know, center probably we've had in the last 30 years in NBA history. So I think your reasons for him are quite agreed. My number five for me is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think for me, if you look at his career, 22 seasons in NBA, it was 21, but he had a long career in NBA, winning six NBA titles. Obviously, one with the Milwaukee Bucks, winning the Bucks' his first ever championship, in his franchise history in 1971. And obviously, what he did with Lakers, kind of being that kind of leadership role, kind of coaching Magic Johnson to eventually becoming the great leader he became himself.
Yeah.
And for the iconic moments he had, donning the purple and gold. And eventually, obviously, for 38 years, he held the record for the most points scored ever, in the NBA regular season.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the legendary, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for me deserves to be number 5, and I feel like the way he's impacted the game with his iconic skyhook shot, which was probably the most unguardable shot in NBA history. So,
Yeah.
Kareem for me is a well-deserved number 5. So yeah.
It'll be interesting to see you actually have higher up the list in that
Mm.
case. Spoiler. So I'll let you go with who you think will be number 4. Who you have number 4 in your top 5.
All right, so number 4 is another Lakers great. For me, the second greatest player to ever play for the iconic Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously had a short career. If you look at it, in hindsight, had a short career, but he's a legend. The greatest passer in NBA history. Arguably, obviously he's up there with the great LeBron James. I think you know where I'm going with this. It's Evan Magic Johnson. For me, number 4. For me, if you had a longer career, if you played, let's say for me, at least 18 to 20 seasons, even though it was quite rare in his day, but I think he ended his career with only 30 seasons, obviously with the tragic end to his career with, the whole HIV diagnosis.
Yeah.
But for me, he was one of a kind. For me, one of the greatest passes in NBA history. Was a leader. Was a floor general. Had a great basketball IQ. For me, there's no other. He has a great basketball IQ either than Chris Paul. I know you don't really like him like that, but he has a great basketball IQ. And obviously, LeBron James. I think they're the only 2 players in basketball history which have a greater IQ than Evan Magic Johnson. I just feel like for me, Evan, what he did for the Lakers and, just all the records that he set, obviously winning 5 NBA championships, 3 NBA final MVPs, having that great, run, going toe-to-toe with Larry Bird. I think that set him as one of the all-time greats in NBA history. So for me, he's a number 4 of all time. So yeah. What about you, bro?
I mean, I 100% agree with you that one. I think Magic one was my number 4 as well. For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, and it's even funny as well because especially when you watch the Magic documentary, there was the Calling Magic and there was the other one with that they were showing the whole thing with Dr. Bust and all that kind of stuff. I remember he came at the same time with Larry Bird, and everybody was loving up Larry Bird more than they was loving him, and to still have that mentality to come in and dominate. And it's crazy because everyone that I'm going to name on this list, or people normally have in their top 5, all of them are elite scorers. Like, you see people chuck Kobe in there, you see people chuck Kareem in their top 5, LeBron, MJ, all of these kind of guys. They're all elite scorers, except Magic Johnson. He wasn't an elite scorer, but he was one of the greatest playmakers of all time. And you can see, even when you want to talk about players like Chris Paul and LeBron and whatnot, they all kind of like learned their passing and playmaking game off him, because there was stuff he was doing that was off the chart. And remember, he won Finals MVP as a rookie when Kareem went down, and then he had to come in and play center. So like I said, with the mentality he's coming with, I mentioned won 3 MVPs and stuff, and he went to, and within his short career as well, he went to so many finals as well. I think he went to like 9 finals, if I'm correct.
I think he lost 2 to the Celtics, I believe, and he lost 1 to Detroit, so he went to 8.
No, but he also lost to Jordan. Yeah, he lost to Jordan as well.
Right. He also lost to Jordan.
Yeah, when they didn't even have.
Yeah. So he's over final record 5 and 4.
Yeah. So I mean, if you only play like 13 years, and out of those 13 years, 9 of them you made the NBA finals, I think that's a outstanding accomplishment. And as I said, I can't disagree with that. I do have Magic, even though they'll call him tragic at one point, number 4 in my all-time list. Obviously, moving up to number 3 is the guy that you had a bit lower, and I'm going with Kareem as number 3. Yeah, because I think if you just talk about the whole basketball career, I do think obviously Magic and Kareem both need each other in it. But then also Kareem also had a bit where he won a championship with Oscar in Milwaukee. I mean, he had that unstoppable shit. He was one of like the first of his kind of players. Like, because normally, and I could be wrong because I was never watching Bill Russell. But first of all, Bill Russell wasn't one of those. Hold on, just quick disclaimer: I am not putting Bill Russell or Wilt in these things, because those are all like the black and white TV times, and it's just very weird for me to rank them. So I know some people have like Bill Russell in their top 5, but not around here, buddy. I'm talking about players
Yeah.
that we actually saw in color and not the
Mm.
fabricated 100 point stats. So, yeah, as I was saying, and then six, he won 6 championships. He won 6 MVPs as well.
Mm.
As you mentioned, he held that record for like 38
8
years
years.
or so, and
Mm.
he taught Magic to kind of become the player that he became anyways. And obviously people are gonna try and say that obviously Magic was the reason he was able to be so successful. But everyone needs to remember like a big man always needs an elite guard with them to reach the potential. So and I do think he did reach his full potential and the sky hook shot as well, unstoppable. So I got Kareem number 3 on my list.
Yeah, for number three, I think it's bittersweet. Obviously you put, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as number three. But for me, I think it's no other than for me, probably, one of the greatest players within the 21st century. Probably for me, arguably the second greatest player in the 21st century, the greatest ever player to adorn, the famous colors of the purple and gold, our team.
Don't do it, please. Please do
Michael
not do
Jordan,
it.
number two, as they say.
Oh Lord.
Unfortunately, his life ended so abruptly, 3 years ago. But for me, it's Kobe Bryant. I believe Kobe Bean Bryant, the greatest Laker of all time. Number three, I believe, in all-time NBA scoring. For me, is the third greatest player in NBA history. And the reason why I say this, obviously, 5 titles. Obviously, three of them came in the three-peat with Shaq. And obviously, yes, he wasn't the main guy, he wasn't the main star. But, let's be real. Shaq would have won those titles, the Lakers, if it was Kobe. I think it was like Robin and Batman. I think like them two complement each other very well. They both help each other and both complement each other to kind of assist each other in their roles. I think Kobe wouldn't have been, the number two guy in his efficient role if it wasn't for the potency of Shaq dominating the boards and being an aggressive monster in the paint. And for me, Shaq wouldn't have done what he needs to do if it wasn't for if it wasn't for Kobe's kind of young, ferocious kind of playmaking abilities and him actually kind of being the maverick, that he was, throughout the years of 1999 to 2004. So you have to give credit, for Kobe for those three, championships for the three-peat. And obviously, the two championships came later in his career when he won number 24. I think you got to give Kobe massive credit, especially in 2010. Arguably, Kobe said that was his hardest. I would agree with that. Probably his hardest ever championship to face the enemy, the foe. Again, the Boston Celtics at that time, with the most, championships in NBA history, with 17. You're going against them, and they beat you 2 years prior. In 6 games, you have that memory, that stain of the enemy, the Celtics beating you, and to come back, and to lead this team, this Lakers team, to win number 16 against the Boston Celtics in a tough series. Went to Game 7, and that fight, I watched, the highlights multiple times, at least probably over 20 times. It wasn't a great basketball game. Defensively, it was good. Both teams played great defense, but it wasn't a great basketball game in terms of the offensive display. But the fact that Kobe stayed there, he stayed, well designed, well together, kind of conducting the team, and obviously just leading the team as well. Making sure that Paul Gasol did his job, making sure Derek Fisher did his job, making sure Ron Artest did his job. You know what I'm saying? He was a leader. Not only was he a great scorer, great shooter, great at the free throws. Some can't say they're great at free throws. Including your guy, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Great at free throws. He was also good. Yeah, it's true. Let's be very real. He was also. May I say, he was also quite a decent defender as well. In my opinion, he was also quite a decent defender in his early years. And the leadership that Kobe, embedded throughout the later stages of his career, for the last 12 years of his career, I think that's extremely underrated. I think a lot of people don't really notice that. People just look at his flashy moments of dunks, the great scoring, the times went off, when he came to scoring 50 and 60-point games. No, but it's also leadership. And the fact that he won 5 NBA titles, 2-time MVP, I think he should have won more league MVPs, obviously. Obviously, he kind of got robbed, during the Steve Nash years, but it's kind of well deserved for Steve Nash. But for me, Kobe's number 3. I just think if you look at his overall legacy, number 3 in all-time scoring, winning 5 championships for arguably the biggest franchise in NBA history with the Los Angeles Lakers, that's a great achievement. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, he's up there with Kareem and obviously Magic in that sort of feat, and just the moments as well. It's the moments as well. You got to look at moments in basketball.
But that's what I'm saying. These moments are clouding because if you were to ask me, I don't think he's top 5 players of all time.
Really?
No, I've got him down at if I was to go, I've got Shaq, Duncan, Larry
Yeah.
Bird, then Kobe. I don't.
Wait, so what? So what is he in your top 10?
No, he's in my top 10. I just don't think
I'll
he's
be
top.
very real with you. Yeah, I'll be very real. If people don't put him in top 3, I find it very hard to take you guys seriously.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, top 3. Firstly, for me, he's top 3 regardless. I love Kobe. For me, what he did for the game of basketball, and as Lakers, great for me. Is top 3, top 5. If you don't put him in top 3, I can at least do top 5. But the fact that you have him in top 5, I find that very, very blasphemous. I can't lie to you, bro. That's shocking. Not even in the top 5.
No, because if you look at the careers that Tim Duncan had, I think Tim Duncan's career is better than Kobe's career. If you
In what sense?
So,
Maybe, no, the only way he won it. No, I can agree with you because obviously he went up with the Spurs, 5 champions with the Spurs, and the Spurs are kind of not really like a
multiple
big
time
franchise
MVP as well. Remember what's it called? Is it Duncan Robinson? That what's it called? That obviously he was a great player. And he's or not Duncan Robinson. What's it Duncan Robinson?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Tony Parker.
No.
Who are you talking about?
The other center it's completely escaped my mind. The center that he was playing with, number 50, on the Spurs during his first championship.
I can't remember Spurs. I know what you're talking about. I forgot his name. Does he wear the glasses?
Yeah. Hold on, let me find it quickly.
What's his name? Yeah. I know you're talking about though.
Spurs number. I'm gonna search up quickly. David Robinson. I know I was thinking of Duncan. I knew it was Robinson. I don't know what I was thinking of, but David Robinson, great player in his all right, but he wasn't winning until he was playing with Tim. I think Tim is a better defender if you want to talk about all around in terms of rim protecting and all that kind of stuff. As I mentioned before, 5 championships. He's won more MVPs as well. And remember when Shaq left Kobe as well. Kobe wanted to leave the Lakers because Kobe did have a few down years in his career as well. You can't just under the carpet as well. So if you're going to talk about from the point of skill set, then I do think you can argue Kobe is a more skilled player. But then even though as well, I think that just comes down to Kobe looking more flashy in the thing. They didn't call Tim Duncan Mr. Fundamental for no reason. So I think if you look at that, I do think Tim Duncan's career has to be put above Kobe's career, which I think is better all time. And then I think, as you mentioned, the whole Larry Bird argument as well. I think he's one of like 2 other players that have 3P the MVP as well. That's won it back to back to back. When Lakers were having,
I mean, he's number 6, Larry Bird.
Yeah, but when Lakers were having as I mentioned before, Magic, he went to 9 finals, but then Larry Bird was still able to get his rings too, and to be one of the greatest shooters, or because you could argue he's like a top 15 shooter, top 10, top 15 shooter of all time, and to be able to beat that in that era, because it's crazy. Because a lot of people like to send a slight dig to LeBron. So a lot of people like to talk about if MJ was playing in this era, he will work on his 3-point game and he will make more 3-point shots. But Larry Bird was playing in the same era, even a bit earlier, and he was still a great 3-point shooter, shooting 38% from the field. So when you factor all these kind of things as well, and Larry Bird was a better passer than Kobe as well. So, as I said before, it's nothing to do with Kobe, but I just do think when you start talking about the top of the tops, like the LeBron, the Kareems, the Magic, and whatnot. As I said, I'm a big fan of Kobe. I just do not believe he belongs in that conversation.
I think that's blasphemous, bro. I think not even to be in the top 5. I think it could be harsh. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But I respect your opinion. You know what I'm saying? You got him in top 10, which I think every basketball fan, he's been watching basketball like properly. Yeah. We'll put Kobe in the top 10. That's just something you can't dispute. But for me, I just feel like if you just look at what he's done for the game of basketball, his impact, how he played the game, they call him Michael Jordan number 2. He was not quite as good as Jordan, but he was close to him. He was the closest thing to Jordan we've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that for me, the moments he had as a basketball player, they're just too many great moments. And that's the thing you got to consider, is the moments as well. Obviously, teammates and what's led them to champions and whatnot. Fair enough, I do hear that. You could say, with even with Vinny, with my man, what's his name? Tim Duncan. He had great teammates: Ginobili, Tony Parker. Even Steve Kerr for a bit of time.
Okay, so you talk about
decent teammates.
Tony Parker and Ginobili. Which are Tony and By the way, I think these are really good players. Like I said, you talk about Max Kellerman's and he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 method. You could argue Tony Parker is and Ginobili are like 3.5, 4 stars, so all-star caliber players. Which of them would you say are better than Pau Gasol or Shaq?
I think you can make an argument for Tony Parker. No. Listen, you can make an argument for Tony Parker being the same sort of career stature as Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol's gonna be, by the way, his number is gonna be retired next week for the Lakers, which is a good thing. Yeah. But you can make the same argument that they're the same sort of stature career-wise. Who did you say before? Who's the other one you said?
I said Tony. Oh, and Shaq. So Pau Gasol and Shaq, because those are the two stars that
No, he was the other one for the Spurs.
Oh, Ginobili.
Okay, yeah, Ginobili. Yeah, he's not the same level of Shaq. I agree, but I feel like with Gasol, I think with Ginobili and even with Tony Parker, they're in the same career stature. Shaq is in a different stratosphere. Yeah, he blows both of them out of the water. Do you know what I'm saying? But I think with the others, they're in the same career stature. So I feel like it's very arguable. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I thought we're gonna have to. I mean, this might be a different conversation where we have a deep dive to where Kobe actually ranks, and you can argue the greatness of Kobe, and I can bring some flaws, and there's never no flaws, as I said, because when you talk about greatest of all time and you've got a lot of great players, you're gonna have to start nitpicking little moments and stuff in everyone's careers. But I just can't think of the down years that Tim Duncan had, like throughout his whole. Like his teams are always like 50+ win teams and stuff like that. Like he retired in 2000 and was it 16?
Yeah, or 2015 or 2016. Yeah, I think I was saying
2015 was when he. No, so I think it was 2015. I think because 2014 was when he won his last ring, and then obviously the 2015 was the whole Cavs and Golden State stuff, and then I think he packs it in. But okay, so now we'll move on to. Obviously, the top two, because none of us have said. The same way you think it's blasphemous for Kobe not to be in someone's top five, is the same way I was thinking if LeBron isn't in your top five, it's blasphemous, and Michael Jordan as well. So we both know who is number one and who's number two. You've got Mj as your background, so that's for the people to know. You have him
serious guy, disrespectful.
Why do you think the guy that was playing Milkman is number one?
Oh, sorry. Should I say my number two then?
So again, I mean, we kind of know who's your number two, so it's what to do with why are you picking that player over the other?
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I pick Michael Jeffrey Jordan, as the number one player in basketball history, as the greatest of all time, it's just simple. Look, I respect LeBron James. LeBron James is number two. I think he's the greatest player of this generation, the greatest player of the 21st century. Yeah. I think for me, he's very close to being the GOAT over Michael Jordan. But if we just look at it, from an objective point of view, and look at their careers completely, yes, LeBron's had a difficult test, much more difficult than Michael Jordan. And no one's disputing that, But we have to be very real with this. Michael Jordan, for me, changed the game of basketball that no other basketball player has ever done, apart from Stephen Curry. But if we look at the basics, right? Come back to the basics, right? Simple as this, Rich, And I think you can see where I'm coming from with this. Who's a better scorer?
He's a better scorer?
Michael Jordan. Yes, Michael Jordan. Okay. Statistically, it's Michael Jordan,
Okay.
Who's a better on-board defender? Statistically,
LeBron.
It's Michael Jordan. No, on-ball. No. Maybe, blocks? LeBron probably because he's taller, and LeBron has many iconic blocks. But on-board defender, that includes for me defensive efficiency in terms of on guard defending, steals. That counts as it's a defensive aspect, but it's not really complete defending. But on-board defender, I think many guys can agree with this. Michael Jordan is a better on-board defender than LeBron James is. For me, that's just facts, in my opinion.
No,
more career steals. Okay, more career steals. I think I think they're both kind of equal. I think Michael Jordan was very athletic. He was a freak of nature. LeBron James is a freak of nature currently, I say. So I think I think they're both, on the same level. I think LeBron James may have a bit more of an edge because obviously his longevity is longer. But I think you can't really compare. I don't think you can really take one or the other, as an extra mile. Who has a better athleticism and whatnot. For me, if you look at championships, 6 to 4, final 6, love, so 4 and 6. never got to Game 7. For me, it's MJ. Like, obviously, yes, LeBron had a difficult test. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, he faced tougher opponents. Do you know what I'm saying? No one's disputing that. And I do think that's what leans more towards LeBron in that favor. But you got to look at it this way with MJ, right? Cool. People feared him. People didn't want to play against him. People knew that if MJ was healthy, there's no way to win it. In Game 7, I think it was Game 6. I think it was a 998 series, or maybe 997. It was Utah. Remember the Utah thing? They poisoned him. The pizza guy was a worker for the Utah.
You don't believe that stupid documentary?
No, it's truth. I watched it. I researched it. I had to go behind the scenes and research it. They poisoned him. They poisoned Michael Jeffrey Jordan, bro. They did it, bro. And guess what? He dropped 38 points in a crucial Game 6 to give the Chicago Bulls a 3-2 lead. I believe that was 998, I believe. And they're on the verge of winning their 6th championship in 8 years. He won 6 championships, 2 3-peats in the 90s. And I believe, for me, if he never took those 2 years off, I believe he would at least won 7. I think he would have ended on 7 NBA. No, I think he would have ended his career on 7 NBA titles.
I believe, I genuinely believe that if Jordan didn't take them 2 years out, and first of all, he didn't. It wasn't even just a full 2 years because Orlando Shaq knocked him out in the playoffs anyways in the second year, and
but he only had 2 weeks to prepare for the playoffs. With only 5 games he played.
Was he there?
He was
played.
there.
So he played.
But he only had 5 games prior towards that. Okay, that was the second round. So obviously he had at least more than 10 games, ideally also. I can't remember the exact first round win for them. But you got to remember, it was like a 4 year he had, and it was like proper conditioning he had.
Okay, back to my original point,
you know what I mean? Yeah, go on.
Even if, let's say, okay, you know what, for argument's sake, let's say it's 2 years, I believe he didn't take those 2 years out, he does not win 6 rings. Because I
believe he would have won in 1999 though. The year that Spurs won, in that lockout season, if the Chicago Bulls came back with the full roster, I believe they would have won that year. I agree that
I'm 4-peats.
Yeah, I think the 1996 team would have won in 1999 if in that lockout year.
I'll tell you, he doesn't take those 2 years off, maximum he's winning 5 rings. And the reason I'm saying that, because there is a mental fatigue that comes into playing with the NBA year in, year out. He was able to take some time out of the NBA, which means he was able to refresh and then come back fully energized. Because, I mean, there's some players that, they just go through the motions, they start to lose a bit of passion for the game and blah, blah. And then you take some time out and then you realize how much you love the game and you feel a bit rejuvenated. And I think that's what happened with Michael Jordan in terms of, because he was able to take those years out, he was able to come back for the 3-peat. I hear people talk about stuff as in, they think he would have won 8 in a row. And second of all, this whole thing about he never went to a Game 7, this and this in the NBA finals.
It's a incredible achievement, bro. Think about it. 6 finals, you never got to Game 7. That's incredible.
But that's how it's kind of like, you think people are not paying attention because the real competition that Michael Jordan had was in the East. So he played his real competition before he even got to the final. So playing like, for example, the Detroit Pistons, was kind of basically the NBA final for him, and he was able to go to a Game 7 of that, which he lost to the Detroit Pistons a couple of times, because people like to act like nobody in Michael Jordan's era, but Larry Bird was winning rings in his era, Magic was winning rings in his era, IT was winning rings in his era, to the point that he didn't make sure he got into the Olympics team. So first of all, now you're talking about in terms of skill set. Now I'll give it to you as in
skill set. LeBron James is all round better. But if we're looking at the basics, I think scoring, defensively, I think MJ is clear, and statistically, it's clear as well.
But is he really a clear scorer?
Yeah.
Is he really a clear scorer?
Yeah, he was. He had a post game. He had the fadeaway. He was a very good mid-range shooter. He was actually the king of the mid-range. You know what I'm saying? From the 90s at least. He was a decent 3-point shooter. Never took too many threes, like a high volume. But he was a decent 3-point shooter. Obviously,
no, he wasn't. He was a shit 3-point shooter. He was crap.
Wait, what was his career average? I'm not too sure. I should have done my research on that, but
I think it's because there was only 2 years where he actually shot decent from 3, and guess what happened in those 2 years? That's when they moved the 3-point line forward, and then he was able to shoot decent from 3-point, and then they moved it back out, and he wasn't a good 3-point shooter again.
So maybe you're right on that, because obviously I'm just thinking of the 1991 series against the Lakers, and obviously the 1992 series when they faced the Portland Trailblazers, and I think he made like 6 threes in the NBA Finals. I think he was the first player to ever make 6 threes in the game in the NBA Finals. obviously that's obviously been matched, I believe, by whoever. But obviously, I'm hearing more why you believe LeBron James is the GOAT. But I just want to kind of wrap up my whole statement on Jordan. I think, regardless, we both agree Jordan is the top 2 in basketball history. But the reason I just put him over LeBron James is simple. I just think he's a better scorer, better defender. He won 6 NBA titles, 6 NBA Finals MVP. He won more league MVPs as well, 5. And also, you've got to look at his impact on the game of basketball. I think is greater than any other player in NBA history. Jordan practically made basketball an international sport. He made the game, the league, a global enterprise. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, I personally believe logically, if Jordan had matched the same amount of years that LeBron James currently has right now, I think Jordan for me would probably be number 2 or number 1 of all-time scoring.
I do think so. He could not match it.
No, but I think the thing is, I agree with you in the first stance. He did take a break, but obviously his dad died. The mental stress of condition of body, the just how arduous the NBA season is. I agree, but I believe for me, the 1999 season, the lockout. I think if the Bulls came back fully healthy with all their players, I think they would win that championship. I think for Pete, Jordan was the title. I think he would continue for 99-2000, and then I think maybe we saw a huge decline from 2001, 1-2, and eventually the end of his career 2-3. So I do believe if he matched at least 18-20 seasons, I think he would have at least been number 2 in all-time scoring, at least on 36,000 points in my opinion. But LeBron James, take your stance for as you be why he is the GOAT.
You're doing the if buts and maybes. Just to go on that first point, you said Michael Jordan may be number 2. My GOAT is number 1, as you can see when he passed Kareem. Now, first of all, I think one of the biggest things that people try and downplay to why LeBron have these things is the longevity. Like, this guy never had major injuries during the prime of his career. You look at I think the way.
Oh, sorry, you said prime. Sorry, I was going to add this. I think if we're taking ball players at their prime, I think a lot of many NBA analysts, I'm not saying many, but I think a good amount of NBA analysts, and I think a lot of MJ heads will agree with why I'm saying this. At their peak, there was no one better than Jordan. At their peak, Jordan's peak was from 1989, because 1980 he won Defensive Player of the Year. From 1989 for me to 1993 until his first retirement, Jordan's peak was amazing, bro. It was out of this world.
Okay, so if I say LeBron's peak is from 2012, the second season Heat, up until his last year in, I'm talking about the very, very up until his last year in Cleveland.
Oh, 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, are you still taking Michael Jordan?
Because it's longer. It's longer. See, the big difference is it's longer. LeBron James' peak is longer. But remember, Jordan retired, and he retired for good reasons. Body, in them days, basketball was much more physical, much more arduous. And the stress of the death of his dad. Remember, his dad didn't get confirmed dead, I think, until like 2 years afterwards. Until we knew what actually happened to the full story. So all that was going on with his father, the mental toll that was taken, and just how tired he was.
But he didn't just retire once; he retired twice again because they wanted to was it change the coach or break up the band or something like that.
Yeah, they wanted to break the band, and he wasn't happy.
Yeah, and then he went, and then first of all, we can't even just discard of all the stuff that happened in Washington as well, because in the latest years of Michael Jordan's career and the latest years of LeBron's career,
well, not terrible, but
you can see. And then when you just talk about playoffs, like, because people talk about who's more clutch and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think LeBron has more player buzzer beaters than Michael Jordan as well. I think the career that he's had to go through, having to play the 73 and 9 Golden State team that I think Michael Jordan loses to, and then he's had to then also play the Golden State with KD as well. Like, and this is why I said the whole thing about Michael Jordan never going Game 7, because although you can argue that LeBron had run to the final was a bit easier, his competition in the final was a lot harder than any competition that I do think Michael Jordan faced in his time. And also, the NBA being more physical does not equal a tougher era as well. Because I think one of the things people like to say, back in the 80s and the 90s, they were playing defense. When they weren't playing defense, the defenders were crap, and they knew they couldn't stop Michael Jordan, so they just try and hurt you. Whereas I think in today's game, because defenders are smart and they can actually defend, they don't feel they need to clothesline players to stop you because they're using their actual defensive attributes. So when you just put these all things, and then you talk about basketball IQ, I think LeBron's basketball IQ is off the charts. Like, sometimes you hear in post games where he starts breaking down the play, when someone just throws the question at him, and all this kind of stuff. So you're talking about as a playmaker, as a passer, and as I mentioned before, I don't think Michael Jordan is clear of LeBron as a scorer. LeBron is number one for a reason, and I do believe that if LeBron wanted to start
That's
jacking the shots,
longevity. That's longevity based.
but if you just look about as in points per game, Michael Jordan is
Yeah.
30.1, LeBron is 27 point whatever. So I mean you're
Yeah.
talking
That's
about
4 points difference.
more or less like
And
three points.
Michael Jordan has a better PER as well.
So again?
I think the only Michael Jordan, he has a better PER, so efficiency. So when it comes to scoring a basketball, who's more efficient? How easy is it for the person to score or make their field goal? That's what the PR is. And Michael Jordan is clear of LeBron James. I think the only person who's actually close to him, I believe, is currently in the NBA is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And most of his points coming. Well, obviously, I don't want to discard him. He's gone better in mid-range and 3-point. But historically, for his career, most of his points have come in the paint. So that's, I think, scoring-wise. And, Michael Jordan was a 10-time scoring champion. LeBron James hasn't reached that figure yet, and he won't do.
He was never required to. If he wanted to, he could have.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but then again, as I said, we're not doing if buts and maybes over here. So I'm just going to tell you what is. I just think, in terms of skill set, LeBron is clear. I think his career has been greater as well. And as I said, the championships.
I agree to extent.
I think the championships that he has won, I think the teams that he's faced in the finals, except from the Heat, I do think have been tougher competition as well.
Yes, I do think LeBron's had the two hardest NBA championships: the 2020 bubble, just the conditions of it, and obviously the 2016 win against the Golden State Warriors, because that's arguably the greatest team that the NBA has ever seen in terms of the regular season. I think, I agree with that. I do agree that LeBron's had tougher tests in the final. I do agree with that. That's not my dispute. That's not my argument. My argument is just who's better at their peak. And for me, at their peak with MJ, what he done for the game of basketball, he's a better scorer. He's better defensively, and that proves it. I'm not just saying it from the just from the point of watching his highlight clips. Statistically, I can prove it, and also he's been rewarded with that as well.
We're gonna have to bring some more LeBron fans and MJ stands, because this is a debate we can have forever. So
this is a big conversation. We can have this in depth with other people. For separate podcasts.
Yeah. So so just quickly, so our top 5 greatest player of all time. You said Kareem number 5, Magic 4, Kobe 3, LeBron 2, and MJ 1. And I've got Shaq 5, Magic 4, Kareem 3, and Bum J 2, and the GOAT were number 1. So with that being said, as I said, we're gonna have this conversation. We're gonna bring more people in so that you can hear this debate from a different angle and whatnot. But now, thank you, Kojo, for jumping onto the platform again. Do you want to?
Man, it's a pleasure. Yeah, guys, follow my Twitter. It's KO_London08. Right on Twitter. Basketball talk, football talk, any sort of sports talk. So I'm down there. Follow me. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, and check out my sports page, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, bounce_UK. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we'll be back with some more videos coming soon. So thank you for tuning in. As I said, I mean, I wish I could stay here and debate this even longer, but we'll revisit this topic again in the near future.
For sure.
But thank you guys for tuning in, and peace.